Swami, you are on mute.
Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavathaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Apyayantu mamangani
आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि
Mamangani
Vak pranachakshusthotramato balamindriyani cha
Vak
वाक्प्राणिश्चोत्रमतो
Pranashchakshusrotramat
बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि
sarvani.
सर्वाणि
Please chant.
सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम्
Upanishadam
माहं
Brahmanira
ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम्
Ma Brahma Nirakarot
मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्
Anirakaranamastvanirakaranamati astu.
अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु
Tadatmani nirateya upanishattu dharmaste mai santu. Te mai santu.
Tadat
तदात्मनि
Tadatmani
निरतेय
nirateya
उपनिषत्सु
upanishatsu
धर्मास्ते मयि
dharmas te
सन्तु
mai santu
ते
te
मयि
mai
सन्तु
santu.
Shanti Shanti.
ॐ
Om
शान्ति
Shanti
शान्ति
Shanti
शान्ति शान्तिः
Shanti.
There is also a prayer in the beginning. This is the prayer for the Upanishad and Samaveda. But the author, I think, has put in a prayer. Normally the prayer is for Ishvara and to Guru. Many times we see this prayer appearing. Ye nirita pravartante praninas sarveshu karmasu tam bande paramatmanam svatmanam sarvadehinam yasya padam sambhutam vishvam bhati characharam purnanandam gurum bande tam purnananda vigraham. Inspired by, prompted by whom all jivas do karma. Very appropriate prayer. Tam bande, tam paramatmanam bande, which is there in every prani, every jiva, swatmanam sarvadehinam, from whose pada, amsha, yasya padamshu sambhutam, the whole jagat is created. Vishwam bhati characharam includes moving and non-moving, all things in the jagat. That Guru, who is Purnananda, tam bande, Purnananda vigraham. Somewhere I read that Purnananda may be the Guru of the author, I don't know, but Purnananda also means absolute Ananda. Are there any people who have not attended the previous classes? Anybody here who is new? Harita. Okay. And Chitra Sundar.
You.
Very good.
I'm also new.
Who is that?
I'm Gomati.
Chitra. Okay. Oh, Gomati. Okay. This Upanishad will try and address the needs of both types of people who have not been attending Vedanta classes and the advanced students as well. We will see that as we go along. Today, we know there are 4 Vedas, and in each of the Vedas, there is an end portion called Veda Anta, Vedanam Anta, the last portion of the Veda, which is distinctly different from the earlier portion. We will see how. Was it always like this?
No.
The Vedas are considered Nitya. That means there is no beginning for the Vedas and there will be no end. But each time a Kalpa ends, everything becomes unmanifest, including the Vedas. And what state were the Vedas in when they were first revealed? Vedas are also called Shruti, that which is heard. Who was it heard by? By the rishis, called seers. Drishyate iti rishi. They are tuned to receive that knowledge orally and in turn pass it on to their shishyas. Thank God for that, where it comes down in a parampara to all of us. When the Upanishad, when the Vedas first appeared at the beginning of this Kalpa, at that time, did they appear as 4 different Vedas? Answer is no. I said this is a Nitya Pravaha. It's Nitya, but Pravaha Nityatvam. It's like a flow, constantly flowing. Every Kalpa, you get access to this knowledge. And at the end of the Kalpa, it becomes unmanifest. In what form was it there initially? It is called Ekaveda. All the mantras and all the Vedas were available as Ekaveda. We don't know too much about that. This was pre-Vyasacharya's time, which means over more than 5,000 years old. And it was passed on from generation to generation orally. And to remember all the mantras, know their meanings, not make an error. You know, if you hear it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, the 5th version may not be the same as the original version. There is a game called Chinese Whispers. Have you heard that? How messages get distorted. You whisper a message to one person. He in turn or she whispers the same message to another person. And so on in a chain. And then the last person in the chain is asked what is the message he or she got. I find it very funny. The original message given to the first person and this message many times don't have any sambandha at all. In my Purvashrama days, we used to use this very effectively to show how communication can be distorted. I saw recently, this one show called Kapil Sharma something. He uses this also in his programs. So you end up with something very funny, not related to the original message at all. So how is it possible that when this message is received by the rishis initially, and then passed on from generation to generation to generation, from guru to shishya to his shishya to his shishya and so on, how do you preserve the correct authenticity of it? They had certain systems for it. Well, patha. Even today, if you see, when you chant any Vedic mantra, there is a method for chanting it. Swaras are there. That's why it is said, no Vedic mantra should be chanted any other way. Many people have Gayatri mantra as their doorbell. And they will sing it. It's really useless. If you want to preserve the meaning of the mantra, it has to be done exactly the same way. So this oral tradition had several pathas. One of them is called Ganapatha. There are people who are called Ganapathis. They will chant this mantra in a very complex way. They will take 3 words, go back to the second word, take 3 words, cycle they do. Very tough. But by doing things like that, they preserved the originality of the message without a distortion. Therefore, it came down from guru to shishya to guru to shishya. Therefore, chanting becomes extremely important. In the other class, we are studying Rudram. Rudram is also Vedic mantra. And when we study Rudram, I noticed that Anand is offered to teach chanting. You have to chant it exactly the same way to preserve the genuinity of the mantra. So they had these various methods. And that by chanting exactly the same way, they wouldn't lose the originality of the mantra. But it was still very complex. All the mantras of all the Vedas in one place. By the time Vyasacharya came, Vyasacharya recognized there is a problem here. He saw that there's a huge bulk. Although there is no, they preserved a method of making sure that it doesn't get distorted. It was not easy. Plus, he also realized that people require different things from the Veda. Not everybody is looking for the same thing. So at that time, what he did was, he asked 4 of his shishyas. I don't remember the names of all of them, but the one who did for Samaveda is Jaimini. And other Vedas also, somebody of the other did. Yajurveda, I think it was Vaishampayana. Vaishampayana is also a shishya of Vyasa. Therefore, you will see sometimes in certain mantras like Vishnu Sahasranamam, you have in between, say, Vaishampayana Vacha. So he gave this task to 4 of his shishyas to codify and classify these in some fashion. So what they did was, they created these 4. The one who took one portion called the Rig Veda is really hymns. Rig Veda are all hymns. Starting with the praise of Surya to all the devatas and fire. Then there was Yajurveda, which had a lot of prose for various rituals, etc. Samaveda was sung. Samaveda was a musical part of the Veda. And Atharva Veda, which is I think the last of the four, had a lot to do with the daily life, healing, mind and body healing, all that was there in the Atharva Veda. The interesting thing is, the way they classified, they must have consulted each other and done this. They split all the mantras in their section that they had chosen to work on. They made one section which covered all the karma to be done. And the second portion, the last portion, called Vedanta, Vedanamantah, covered this Brahmajnanam in the form of many Upanishads. So you will find each of these Upanishads falls in one of the Vedas. But they all followed the same pattern. And these two are distinct, the two sections of the Veda, of each Veda, quite distinct. How do you say distinct? You've heard of Anubandha Chatushtaya. Whenever you write anything, you compose anything, you ask yourself 4 questions. This is something fascinating. When I was doing a training program for corporate executives in my Purvashrama, I had developed a system, particularly when I was teaching people how to make PowerPoint presentation. At that time, now of course everybody's got a lot of knowledge, but at that time not many people knew how best to use the PowerPoint. So I used to tell them, what is it that you're trying to convey? What is the subject matter of what you're trying to convey? Whether it's a written text or it's a presentation on PPT, what is the subject matter? Can you identify that so that you don't stray here and there? For example, suppose one of you wants to write a book. Same thing applies there also. You first determine what is the subject of your book or your article or whatever it is that you're trying to compose. If you find that it is going here and there, it means you have not clearly defined what this subject matter is. And then the next question one should ask oneself is, what is the use? What is the phala? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to achieve? If somebody writes a book, what is it? What is the result that it should give? What is the prayojanam? If you make a presentation, what is the purpose of the presentation? What is the prayojanam? Maybe you're making a presentation to the board of directors. Maybe there the prayojanam may be, your target may be to gain funding for a project. Very common. But suppose you make a presentation to school children. The purpose is very different. There you might want to instill a sense of our culture, for example. So your content will be very different, no? You can't have the same content in the first presentation and the second presentation. And the third thing to remember, okay, I want to achieve this end. And this is a subject matter I'm writing on or making a presentation on. What is the relationship between them? How will reading this or studying this produce that result that you want? And I thought I'd done a brilliant job of explaining to corporate executives how this is done. Even today, sometimes people come to me saying, this is a draft of a book I'm writing. So I tell them, please first write these 4 things. Ask yourself these 4 questions and write down, because if you're not clear in your mind what the subject is, what they try to achieve, and what is the relationship between this and the result, right? Before you come to relationship, you should even know who are you addressing? What is your audience? What is the target audience? Like I say, if you make a presentation for school children, it's a very different audience. The prayojanam also will be different. The way you structure, even if it's the same matter. In the case of, let us say, giving it to a lot of people who you hope will be the drivers for Sanatana Dharma, who've been working in the field of Sanatana Dharma, your presentation will be very different. From the same subject matter which you want to present for school children, it will be very different. So these 4 factors is what I used to try and present. And I thought I was brilliant. Then later, when I started studying Vedanta, I found that in Vedanta, there is something called Anubandha Chatushtaya. And here I was thinking, what a brilliant mind I have. I've come up with some beautiful way of explaining this to corporate executives. Thousands of years before me, it is there in the written form in Vedas. Anubandha Chatushtaya. What is the Vishaya? What is the Prayojanam? What is the sambandha between this you're trying to do and the Prayojanam? And who is the Adhikari? I can tell you, when you're trying to do anything creative, any writing, any presentation, any form of communication, if you can sit and identify and write this down, you'll find your direction becomes very easy. I was humbled. I said, I was feeling so great. I did a namaskaram to Veda. I said, I accept. Obviously, it has come to me from somewhere. In fact, in our culture, you never ask somebody to pay for knowledge. Never done. Logic is the same. That knowledge is not yours. It has come from somewhere else. What I do in my classes today is not mine. It is what my guru gave me. That is what I'm communicating. The method is taught me. That is what I'm communicating. When you recognize that, then it becomes so easy to have Vinaya. Vidya should go with Vinaya. Vidya is not your own. We may think that we have produced something fantastic, but it's not really our own. In fact, in our culture, it says food, water, and knowledge you never charge for. The idea of restaurant, etc., is a very recent idea. Traditionally, we didn't have this. In fact, what would happen is every family would look for somebody to whom they can first give food and then eat afterwards. Even today, in Ashwavidyalaya here, those of you who come here in the morning, you will know, we teach the children that you never eat before you give it to somebody. First, you do Nivedyam. That becomes prasada. That means you offer it to Ishvara. Then you offer it to another being, whatever it is. Crow, squirrel, whatever the cow. So we have a family of squirrels and birds who come here. They know by about 7:45, if the food is not laid out for them, they will come and make a noise. So that we try and teach the children that you don't eat before you feed another being. Even when you're sitting together and eating, you don't serve yourself before you serve somebody else. That's our culture. You don't first serve your own plate. So food, you can never charge for it, not yours. What food you're eating today, like my guru used to say, the katrika you're eating today might be your great-great-grandfather, not yours. All cycle. Similarly, water. In India, you will find in almost all cities and villages, in summer months, people offer water or neermor or something like that to every passerby. Why? Because to make sure that we never forget that it is not yours. In the north, it can be very hot in a place like Delhi. Many houses have a pot filled with water, usually earthen pot, therefore it's cold. And anybody who passes by can take a glass or two of water and go. This is there throughout the country. So you don't really assume that it is yours. That mamatvam has to drop. It is very important when you start learning later about the truth of the self. Mamatvam has to go. Aham has to go. I. All this notion we have of I, saying whatever is in this body is I, has to go. Aham and mamatvam has to go. And the third of these is knowledge. No, I discovered it. Today the world has gone to a state that everything they want to patent, they want to copyright. That is not our culture. Whatever you think you have discovered is come from somewhere else. I remember in the Purvashma days, there was a delegation from, I think it was Philadelphia someplace, business delegation. And we were meeting in the evening and chatting over. And that leader of the delegation was asking me, what kind of work do you do? And I explained to him what we do. And we were doing pretty much original work. The models we developed, the kind of application we developed for the clients and so on, because we were doing consulting work. At the end of it, he says, I hope you have patented all of them or copyrighted all of them. I started laughing. I said, please go to our website. All these are there in our website. And at the bottom it says, anybody is free to use any of these. If you give us the credit, wonderful. If you don't, go ahead. That is the way we look at things. All the nonsense about patenting turmeric or basmati rice is not ours. You want to monetize everything. Because money has become prathama. We are not looking at the reality behind it. What is yours? How can you claim anything? So this knowledge is such that you don't really sell it as a commodity. You will find all the programs we do, all the classes we run, there's never any charge for any of these things. How do we sustain ourselves? A very beautiful concept we have in our culture called dakshina. The classes we do, the other activities we do, they're all part of a yajna. That yajna, Veda says, has to be completed by paying dakshina. It's a very wonderful concept. And there's when you're doing traditional yajna, there are different pandits who come there, ritviks. And there is very clear instruction about who is to be given what. With a Chaturvedi, what does he get? With the Trivedi, what does he get? And so on. A lot of instructions are there. That dakshina is an integral part of any yajna. So what happens? Many times, many of the people who participate in these programs, who are studying these programs, they will come and give what they want to give. No, this course is 2,000 rupees. No, not like that. What they want to give, a dakshina, they give. Nobody asks. When we studied at the Gurukulam, similar practice was done. We were not charged for anything. Although now, I think in most ashrams, they charge you for room and board. At that time, nothing was charged of us. They just said, whatever you're capable of, you pay as dakshina. They said, this is the average cost per student in the Gurukulam. And since at that time, we just completed and stopped our work, a lot of money was being earned, so we gave a lot of money. Because that time we were capable of giving money as dakshina to the Guru. In fact, as long as Swamiji was there as my Guru, wherever I was invited to give a talk, and whatever they gave me, I came back and promptly gave it to my Guru. That is dakshina. Sustains. Whatever comes, comes. Whatever doesn't come. And believe it or not, when you're doing work like this, somewhere it comes. So that is how we sustain. In the old days, there were Gurukulam in almost every cluster of villages. And anybody could come there, whether the Raja's son, a prince, or somebody low down of any varna, it doesn't matter, would go there. And the students were taught certain very basic thing. Plus, depending upon the background of the person, they were taught special fields. For example, if somebody comes as a prince, he would probably be given Dhanurvidya. Somebody comes from a Vaishya community, all the basics are the same for everybody. Would be given special instructions on trading, agriculture. But they're all same, no difference. In many colleges, they tried to make this equal. When I was studying back in the 60s, hostel was compulsory. Idea being that all the students will be treated equally. Whether you come from a family of multimillionaire or a family of a small government servant, it didn't make a difference. And the other thing that Gurukulam did was, there were lots of children were there, different age groups. Many times, the Gurukulam was structured such that new students came in, young students came in, they just sat in the class. And some of the older students would later help them. They would teach them. We do it even today when we teach children here. We have children coming in here who are ranging from class 2 to about class 8. Inevitably, some of the students who have grasped things quickly, they are asked to teach the other children. Such a wonderful system it was. And of course, the British recognized that as a strength of this society. And they did everything they could to block it. The whole Gurukulam was run on the patronage of the people who could afford it in the society. The local Rajas and the others, Zamindars and so on. And the way it was done was, the students would go at the end of their Gurukula Vasam to these people, and amongst all the scholars sitting there, they would make a presentation of what they learned. Because Jnatas, when they finished their Gurukulam, 12 years, and the scholars there would cross-examine them. And if they're all happy with what these children have learned, then the patron would patronize that Gurukulam. What the British did was, they taxed any money given to the Gurukulam. That became more and more difficult for Gurukulam to survive because people are finding it difficult. They taxed every one of the donations that came to the Gurukulam. And over a period of time, that along with the sustained effort to say that that system of learning, that knowledge is useless. What is good is what we teach you. What is good is what Christ said. What is good has to be recognized by the senses. Only what you see is real. Whereas Vedanta really says, if you see it, it's not real. Completely opposite. So in teaching this two parts of each of these Vedas, you look at the Anubandha Chatushtaya for each one of them. For the Purva Bhaga and the Uttara Bhaga. Purva Bhaga, often called Karma Kanda, and Uttara Bhaga, called Vedanta. In the Purva Bhaga, called Karma Kanda, the name itself says, the subject is karma. When Jaimini wrote his Dharma Sutra, Atato Dharma Jignasa, whereas when Vyasacharya wrote Brahma Sutra, Atato Jnana Jignasa, Brahma Jignasa, the subject matter there is karma. And what does that karma produce? What is the prayojanam? They are very beautifully done in our system. It says it can give you three things: Artha, Kama, Dharma. So your objective life, called Purushartha, Purushena arthyate iti purushartha. That which your end desire. That portion of the Veda which allows you to gain artha. Artha essentially means security, or what we think of security. Wealth, protection, all of those things. So, one prayojanam is artha. In fact, there are mantras in all of these yajnas which are prescribed, which say if you do it like this, you can gain a lot of wealth. Tells you how to gain wealth. It tells you how to get progeny. And it also tells you how to fulfill your karma, your desires, what you want. In today's world, it might be that I want a collection of, I don't know, Chinese Ming Dynasty vases or cricket memorabilia. That is my desire. There are mantras available for that. So this Karma Kanda tells you, you do this, you can gain this. Interestingly, just by studying that, suppose you have a guru who tells you that this is what Veda says you should do in order to gain this. Oh, I've understood. Like you go to when you're growing up, you want to learn cycling. You see your friends cycling to school and they say, my God, I wish I had a cycle. Then your father buys you a cycle and you sit and study in a book. The cycle has 2 pedals. It has a chain. So when you move the pedal, the rear wheel moves. Will you get the prayojanam? You can't take the cycle to school. You need somebody to help you to actually do it. Fall down 2 times till you get the balance. Like that, everything in the Karma Kanda, you can learn, okay, if you do this, if you do Putrakameshta Yajna, one can get progeny. But unless you do the Yajna, the result is not going to come. So it is knowledge followed by action. It has to start with a desire. I want wealth. If you start examining why you want the wealth itself, there will be a big thing to do. But I want wealth. Okay. So you go to a guru who says, in the Karma Kanda, this is what it says for you to gain wealth. Oh, I've understood. Now that I've understood, should I not get wealth? No. You have to go and do that. Then you gain wealth. What is the proof that I'll get? I don't know about the direct proof. But you must have Shraddha in the Shastra. Shastra includes both Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. If you have Shraddha, then you know it will come. There are recorded cases of couples who did not have a child for 15 years after marriage. They went to all kinds of specialists. No luck. Then somebody advised them to do Putrakameshta Yajna. It's all recorded. And soon after, they had a child. Is it coincidence? Is every such case a coincidence? Or is there something more? Like everywhere, there are enough indirect evidence to show that this works. But you only not only have to know, but you also have to practice it. Abhyasa. So your subject matter is doing karma. And what is the prayojanam? You will either get artha, or kama, or dharma. I will get a lot of wealth. Prayojanam is clear. And the sambandha is clear. Like I said, there is a lot of indirect evidence to show that the karmakanda rituals practiced sincerely, correctly, with Shraddha will produce the result that it says it will. In the Kathopanishad we saw Nachiketa wanted to know all the rituals, not only for himself, but for any human being to gain Swargaloka. And Yamadharmaraja called it Nachiketa Agnihi. That yajna called Nachiketa Agnihi. So, the Vishaya is karma. The prayojanam is artha, kama, or dharma. I will come back to dharma in a while. And the sambandha is very clear. Who is it for? Hey, only a person who is looking for a child will need to do putra kamishtegnya because he hasn't had a child. It is not applicable for brahmacharis, obviously, not adhikari. Applicable only to those. So it has to be. In fact, all the rituals in the karma kanda, very clear definition of who the adhikari is. Most of these karma kanda rituals have to be done by the couple, man and patni. He cannot do many of these without the clear sanction from the patni. Patni means what? One who has been married by Vedic rituals. Not somebody who's gone to the registrar's office and got married. That doesn't count as patni. In fact, there are many things that are there in the Shastra, in the Veda. There are some rituals which only a Krishna Kesha can do. What is a Krishna Kesha? One who has black hair. Many of us here will not be eligible. They don't have Krishna Kesha. So the adhikaritvam becomes important. Swamiji, I already have 10 children. Can I do putra kamishti again? Why do you want to do it? Has to be sense. So the Vishaya is clear, Prayojanam is clear, Sambandha is clear, and the Adhikari is clear. For all that is there in the Purva Bhaga, the Karma Kanda of all the Vedas. What about the Jnana Kanda? Will the same apply there also? Why these are separated? In each of the Vedas, these are separated. The Purva Bhaga and Uttara Bhaga are clearly separated. Because the Purva Bhaga, you get what Yamadharmaraja calls prayas results. What prayas result? All laukika results. All kinds of results that you can get in this jagat. Artha Kama Dharma. What is the Vishaya for Jnanakanda? There is no other text that's available which has the Vishaya is you. No other text. Jnana-kanda Vishaya is you. It is all about you. And surprising that not many people want to read that. They find it, of course, partly because I think we've been brainwashed to say that what is in the Vedas is mumbo jumbo. It is about you. It is like saying, you see somebody's marriage album. They invite you home and promptly bring out the marriage album and they flip page by page. What are you looking for? Picture me, am I there? Everybody's interested in that, right? You look and say, am I there in the picture? Then pass. Go to the next one. And this whole Jnana-kanda is about you. Why wouldn't you be interested? Because you don't know. That is called ajnana. There are several types of people. There are people who are ajnanis and they're ajnani about their ajnanam. He knows not and he knows not, he knows not. Bulk of humanity falls in this category. He knows not and he knows not that he knows not. He comes up with his own conclusions. Because he thinks he knows everything. Sometimes people come asking Swamiji, I want to know this. And very quickly I can recognize that they don't really want to know that. They want to show you that they know everything. They know more than you do. What do you do in a case like that? Invite them for a cup of tea. There's no point in trying to discuss with them. There was once, early days when we started the ashram, one fellow was walking and he said, hi. I said, oh, please come in. He said, no, I don't believe in God. I'm a Nastika. So I said, that's wonderful. Why don't you come in? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what is this God that you don't believe in. He won't come. He ran away. He knows that, when you start breaking it down, you'll have a problem. Jnana-kanda is all about you. The reality of you, the satyam of you. But Swamiji, I know. Only my wife doesn't know. We've been married for 15 years, she still doesn't know me. That's what we think. But if you examine what you know about yourself, honestly, then we recognize that we don't know. Then we move from the category of he knows not and he knows not, he knows not, to the category of he knows not and he knows not. He is an ajnani, but he is a jnani as far as his own ajnanam is concerned. All of us attending classes like this are in that category. I know, I don't know. When you first attend classes of Vedanta, the teacher will tell you about moksha. Very confusing. What is this moksha? But I know there is something to be learned, something to be understood. So I move to that category. I know not, but I know not. Such a person is like a baby. Teach him. The first category is like a fool. Keep him away. Don't try to argue with him. And in time, he begins to understand. And he comes to the stage where he understands this truth about the self. He knows, but he's still not understood that he knows. He knows, but knows not he knows. Such a person is God is asleep. Wake him. Make him see that he knows. Because the knowledge is available to everybody. It is that we're not recognizing. It is there, right there in front of us. He knows, but he knows not he knows. Help him. Wake him up. Till he moves to the fourth category of a jnani. He knows and recognizes that he knows, but he will never say, I know. Because this is one jnanam, you can never say, I know. A lot of questions will come if you say, I know. So the subject matter of the second portion, the Vedanta portion, is you. Okay, Swamiji, I think I understand. I think I already thought I knew, but because I have Shraddha and you're telling me, I recognize that I really don't know. Because very quickly you can argue. Many methods are available, many prakriyas are available. I cannot be constantly changing. And anything that I thought I was, you can examine and see is constantly subject to change. One good argument to reject I is not the body, I is not the mind, I is not my thoughts, I is not my feelings, I is not my emotions, I is not my likes and dislikes. So recognition of the fact that I need to know. At that stage, one tells the Guru, I really don't know. Take me as a Shishya. I think there is something to know. Shishyasteham Shadimam Pam Prapannam, Arjuna says. When a person who recognizes, who studied all the Mundaka Upanishad, for example, and he learned Parikshilokan Karmachatan Brahmana, Nirvedamaya Takritat Kritena. What does he do? Tad Vijnanartham Gurumeva Vigachet. Samitpanihi Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Goes to Guru with an attitude. Please teach me. I recognize that I don't know. Bhagavan says also, Tad Viddhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. Go to the Guru with that attitude that I want to learn. Then only the Guru will teach you. So you have the Vishaya, but you need to have what is the Prayojanam. Now Vishaya is very different between the Karma Kanda and this. Karma Kanda has got to do with karma, this has got to do with knowledge of the self. Are other things also different? Is the Prayojanam different? Is the Sambandha different? Is the Adhikari different? The same fellows can come for both? No. They're all very different. We will look at that tomorrow. What is the difference between the Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda in terms of the Prayojanam, in terms of the Sambandha, and in terms of Adhikaritvam? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम।
ओम स्वामी जी।
ओम स्वामी।